Hi y'all, this is Cami. I'm your instructor for your fashion styling class. I want to go over your first photo shoot, which is the editorial or lifestyle photo shoot. I want to go over the requirements. I want to show you an example and we will go from there. All right. Okay. So for this homework assignment, you are doing your first photo shoot, which is creating either an editorial or a lifestyle image. I want to challenge you with creating something that maybe you aren't as familiar with or comfortable with. So if you shoot editorial style photos all the time, maybe you switch gears and you try shooting a commercial photo. If you have experience with shooting images where you're selling a product, maybe you go in a different direction and you shoot something more editorial, fashion forward. After this week's, notes and, reading the chapter in the book, you should have a really good understanding behind the difference between editorial and lifestyle and what it means to create those type of images. Okay, so let's go through the project requirements. In order to get full credit, you are creating one look head to toe on a model. Okay, that means a model that is not yourself. And this can be a sibling, a significant other, a friend, a classmate, a parent, an aunt, uncle, anyone that you have in your network that is willing to essentially be a model for your photo shoot. They don't have to be a professional model. They don't have to have any experience, although that would be, helpful. But just anyone that's not yourself. Okay. And you're responsible for creating one head to toe look. What that means is that you are thinking about hair. You're thinking about makeup. You're thinking about the outfit itself. You're thinking about accessories. You're thinking about props. You're thinking about anything that is going to complete a look head to toe. Okay. You're also going to attach a raw and edited image. What that means is that I want to see an image that is raw. That means an image that has not been touched by any sort of editing tool. So once you select the image that you want to turn in, I want to see that image without any cropping or any editing or any Facetune or Photoshop. I want to see what you're starting out with. And then I want you to also submit an edited image. And this is the image that you are presenting to the client. So whether you Facetune your model's face or you add some sort of fun effect in the background, or you add some sort of writing to the picture, or you crop it in, anything like that is considered an edited image. So if you've altered the image in any way, that's an edited image. So I want to see where you started out with, what you started out with, and what you ended up with. And then also a mood board for your concept. Second, I want you to think about the atmosphere, the set, okay? This is really important. I want this to be a thoughtful, fairly considerate, executed photo shoot, okay? So if you just take a picture of your friends hanging out on the weekend, or you take a picture of like an outfit of the day picture, you're gonna lose points. This needs to be really you need to have a really creative approach to how you're executing this photo shoot. There needs to be thought behind it. There needs to be a concept. You need to be telling a story. So thinking about the environment, where you're shooting it, how the outfit's going to look in that environment, how the model's posing, what story and emotion you're trying to execute behind that lens. So there needs to be a lot of thought behind the shoot. I need to be able to tell that you put thought into it and that you actually went and executed that. Okay. You also need to have a mood board where you put your ideas down on paper. If you're shooting a Western inspired photo shoot, right? And you have 6 pictures on your mood board of a cowboy on a horse, you're going to lose points. You need to have varied forms of inspiration. So whether that's a color palette, some texture, maybe it's the texture of the dirt and the grass. Maybe it's some lighting inspiration because you want to shoot that at sunset and golden hour, and you want that golden hue over your model and a horse that you're using. Maybe there's some inspiration on some variety of posing that you want your model to do, or some emotional, translation aspects that you want your model to execute. So your mood board needs to be highly textured. It needs to be advanced in the fact that you're showing varied forms of inspiration. It also needs to be in presentation format. So you need to have slides, whether you use PowerPoint or Canva. My best suggestion is to start getting used to Canva and start using it. It's the most intuitive and creative kind of platform that we have, unless you're really good at InDesign and Photoshop and you're creating all your slides, you know, by yourself. If you are, that's amazing. But Canva kind of does all that work for you. You choose a theme for a slideshow. And if you're doing that Western photo shoot, you put Western presentation, and there's hundreds of things to choose from. Minimalistic presentation or slideshow, hundreds of options to choose from. And then you have to kind of plug in your images and obviously, you know, type out your information, but pretty much the theme of the presentation is done for you. So highly recommend Canva. PowerPoint is okay, but you have to do a lot more work to make it creative. If you turn in a project on a white background or black or gray background with black Arial font, you're going to lose points. So this needs to be creative. Everything needs to have a visual aspect to it. You need to connect your idea for your photo shoot with the concept of your slideshow. It all needs to be cohesive. Also, when you present your presentation, it needs to be submitted as one file. So not 6 different slides, 6 different files, one file, specifically PDF. That works the best in Canvas before your deadline. Okay. And then you, just to reiterate, you must shoot a model that is not yourself. All right. So let's break down the slideshow. Your slide 1 is going to be your title page. As always, your slide 1 should always be your title page. I should know your first and last name. I should have the date. I should have our class name and the assignment title. Another note, when you're saving your projects, the file name should have your last name in it. So just in case I download all of them, I know who it belongs to, right? So get in the habit of putting your last name on all of your files. Slide 2, you should name your shoot. Okay, give your shoot a name. Concrete Jungle, Wild Wild West, whatever creative name you can come up with that goes with your concept. This is where you're going to do it. Okay, you're going to also tell us what kind of shoot this is. Is it editorial or is it commercial / lifestyle? So you're going to choose which one it is. You're also going to give us an explanation of what editorial or lifestyle means. Okay, don't forget to add some sort of visual to the slide. So it shouldn't just be a slide with writing on it. There should be a theme to the presentation, and there should also be a visual that's continuing to carry out your theme. Slide 3 is your mood board for the photo shoot. You have to include at least 8 images. Okay, so remember that, of inspiration. There should be images of color palette, photography inspiration, texture, location inspiration. Like I said before, varied forms of inspiration on your mood board. Okay, I should understand the whole concept, the whole story, just by visually looking at your mood board. There also should be a small explanation for the concept of your shoot on the slide. So if you're doing that Wild Wild West photo shoot, tell us, I'm trying to capture the essence and the roughness of this lifestyle. I want there to be movement and energy by capturing the cowboy, you know, on the horse in a very well executed and fashion forward look, something like that, right? So you're getting just a small explanation of what the concept of your photo shoot is. Next, you're doing your raw and edited image, okay? You can either do this on one slide, side by side, or you can split it up into 2 slides. But I want to see where you started, so what your image looked like before you edited it, and then after you've edited it, okay? Also, make sure you label each image, whether it's raw or edited. Very, very clear, straightforward. I should be able to look at the label raw and see your image, look at the label edited and also see your image. The last slide, in review, okay? This is where I want you to give me 3 bullet points of things you've learned. Whether you learned how to execute a really high-level mood board, or how you learned how to use Canva, or you learned how to direct your model, or you learned that music is really helpful when you're doing a photo shoot because it really loosens people up. Or you learn to have a backup outfit because sometimes your model doesn't fit into your first idea, or your first idea of an outfit didn't actually work in the environment that you chose. Okay, so 3 things that you learned. Were you satisfied with your image? Did you like your final image? This is totally up to you. Some of you guys are going to love your image. Some of you guys are going to say, you know what? I wish I would have chosen a different time of day. The shadows were really harsh. Or next time I know I need to choose someone as a model that actually wants to be in front of the camera because it was really difficult to direct them. Or I wish I would have thought a little bit more about the pattern in my outfit compared to the environment. It was a bit distracting or something like that. So you're going to tell us if whether you liked your image and, you know, and why, or whether you didn't like your image and why. Did you stick to your mood board? Did you start out with an idea, a really strong concept, and actually execute it? Or did things change when you were out in the atmosphere with your model and you kind of varied a little bit, you know, you steered away from your mood board? And then lastly, there's 2 behind the scenes images of you doing your photo shoot. So whether that's a selfie with your model in your environment, whether that's a funny moment that you did like an outtake. I just want to see you in the environment doing this photo shoot. That's also how I can tell that you actually executed this photo shoot. It was a thoughtful thing. And it wasn't just like, you know, you taking a picture of your friends at the bar on Saturday night. Okay. Again, to reiterate, editorial photos, right? You know, editorial photos are fashion forward. They push the boundaries, something that you would find on runway or in a fashion magazine. It typically has a story or a concept. Okay, so very stylized. There's thought behind the looks that you put in because you're telling a story with your looks. Fashion editorials often feature as full-page photographs on particular theme or concept, designer, model, or other single topics. Usually there are fashion images that tell a story or suggest that there's a backstory to the photo. They also may serve as a photo essay to illustrate an unwritten story. So if you're choosing editorial, you need to be telling a story, right? Whether that's about a life, someone's life, or their action, or what they like, or what they're involved in, or it's a narrative or a political statement or something like that, there needs to be a story behind the image, right? If you're choosing lifestyle or commercial, our main objective or our main intention is to sell a product or a service. This can still be fashion forward and avant-garde and pushing the boundaries, but we're not really telling a story only. We're definitely wanting to sell our product. So if we think about like a Celine ad, right? It can still be super fashion forward. That's luxury fashion, but we're selling you the product or the lifestyle of a Celine customer. We're not only telling a story about the model wearing a Celine outfit, right? So ultimately we want to sell a product. Usually has copy. So this is writing on the image. So if we're doing a Celine inspired photo shoot, you're probably going to want to add maybe branding, right? Or a slogan or something like that to kind of communicate to our audience that you are selling this product and this is this brand, right? Some examples of this are advertisements, catalog photos, or stock photography. Okay, so now I want to look at an example here. Okay, so keeping in mind that obviously there's certain things that are different from assignments to assignments, but for the most part, I just want to show you the images rather than the layout. But again, blooming wallflower, so naming your photo shoot, also telling us whether it's a commercial shoot or an editorial. This is a commercial shoot for Dior makeup. Okay, so it's called blooming wallflower. And then, kind of describing why that is a commercial photo shoot. Okay, mood board, like I said, making sure that we have varied forms of inspiration. So color palette, graphics, maybe moods or ideas of how we want to express this makeup look for this advertisement. Possibly shadows, lighting, movement, right? There's varied forms of inspiration here. Okay, and then our raw versus our edited image, right? So we have a raw image where there's nothing done to the picture. This is what the student started out with. And then we have an edited image where now the student has added in more greenery in the background, more flowers. They've added in the copy of the Dior makeup. So now we know exactly what they're selling. They've, altered the model's makeup. They've also gone in and cleaned up the makeup look here, if you see that, right? And we've also added in a graphic of what makeup product they're selling in the advertisement, right? So very well highly executed image, and really, doing what they said they were going to do. Okay, so lastly, you guys, which this didn't have, is you are going to do your in review slide. So that is telling us the 3 things that you learned, the 2 behind the scenes photos. So making sure that you incorporate that in your work. All right, hopefully this helps, and hopefully watch this video so you can execute your project in the correct way. Thank you guys. Always reach out if you have any questions.